Chairman, ask unanimous consent to submit a letter for the record from the Fertilizer Institute on their concerns about supply chain challenges.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the panelists for being here today. I want to start with you, Mr. Spear. Looking back at the COVID-19 pandemic, in your estimation, what could the federal government have done better to manage the public health concerns at the same time maintaining the continuity of our supply chain?
How much time do you have?
Yeah.
Seriously, I think, look, it's our first time, all of us together, dealing with a global pandemic. I mean, there were, a lot of things thrown at our country, our economy, our industry, that we had to adjust to very quickly in order to make certain that store shelves had, milk, eggs, bread, gas stations had fuel. But then became the rush to get PPE, test kits, certainly the vaccine itself. That was moved largely by truck. And our industry stepped up to the plate when a lot of people stayed at home, not knowing, what impact this would have on their health, their family's health, real concerns. And isolated in the cab, with those risks still in their minds, they still got in the cab. They still drove those loads to where they needed to be. They were the glue, certainly in the early weeks and months of the pandemic. And I think the inclusiveness of government and industry to solve problems of this magnitude is absolutely essential. I can point to things where we had a lot of conflict between our government and the government of Canada, and our inability to match bearings with public safety and health policy to get our trucks across the line, their largest trading partner. We're dependent on one another. And it just took two governments sitting down to hammer that out, and they didn't do it. So that's leadership, and I'm not pointing fingers. It's just a reality that has an impact on an industry like ours to serve the populace, to serve society on the basic needs that they have to have. I think that, when we looked at the OSHA announcement to require vaccines for employers with more than 100 employees. And my background coming off Senate Labor Committee, OSHA, at DOL, we knew, my team and I, that they did not have the authority to do that. We did not want to go to court. That was something that we certainly could have sat down and worked out, but we ended up litigating it. It went to the Supreme Court, 6-3 decision, you know the outcome. A lot of waste of time on issues that we really should be sitting down and working collectively toward. But I can also point to a lot of good that came out of it as well. I drove many instances across the country. We have a home in Wyoming. Seeing those billboards out in the cornfields thanking a trucker. Mm-hmm. Seeing the banners fly off the overpasses. Our drivers getting off an interstate and being met by a police officer to escort them to where they can get a hot meal and a shower. Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, church groups handing out baked goods at rest areas. Our image climbed to a level not even known possible.
On that note, Mr. Spear, I would say that you did this at a time when the trucking industry was suffering and continues to suffer through a massive driver deficit. Yeah. And on that note, I share your support, as you outlined in your testimony, to make it easier for our constituents to choose a career in the trucking industry, such as ensuring that 18 to 20-year-old drivers who have a CDL can work across state lines. I know you've been supportive of that in the 3-year pilot program that was included in IJA. How's that implementation going?
It's like everything in this town, slower than we would like, but we've grown accustomed to it. I do think this program's going to bear fruit. We've worked really hard in this committee to create a bipartisan understanding of this block of talent, 18 to 20. But I'm also mindful, as you understand, that 49 states already allow an 18-year-old to drive a Class 8. They just can't cross state lines. Now, that works pretty good from Redding, California, down to San Diego. 20 minutes outside of Providence, Rhode Island, not so much. What we need to do is have good training and technology. None of the 49 states do that. This program that was put into the IIJ does. So we need to teach young talent how to safely and responsibly operate this equipment. Inserting an issue like forward-facing cameras, that was not part of the deal. That was not in the bill. And it's going to cause, that's a matter, by the way, that most companies and their employees should negotiate out. having a camera in your face every minute of every hour of every workday, that's not in the bill. And it's going to limit companies from joining this program and putting young talent in a capacity where they can replace our aging workforce. So this is a concern. Oversight is needed. I applaud you for shedding some light on this. We need to follow the law that you handed the agency. And so that is one area where I think it's going to serve as a bit of a headwind in getting this program off the ground.
Appreciate it. My time's expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Larson.